I started writing the script for this video not long after I finished making the Belos video, but I forgot about it after work picked up. I only recently remembered that I had a half-written script saved, and that was only because I had the tab bookmarked. So sorry if it seems like the script is a little choppy in some places. I did try to make it flow as seamlessly as possible, but in some areas I think it's pretty obvious that the writing is newer than other parts. Another thing before we begin, I rewatched my Belos video and recognized a few issues with the formatting of it. Several times throughout the video I added text on screen, sort of like additional thoughts that I wanted to include after my voice had been recorded. Considering the video is 10 minutes long and the last half is mostly a plain black screen, it feels unfair to my viewers because not everyone will stare at a basic black screen for the entire video, and if they look away there's no way to tell when one of those impromptu thoughts will pop up, meaning that they will either miss a point I was trying to make or just miss additional commentary entirely. That's why, in this video, I will do my best to stick to the script and will try to add all of my thoughts to the script before recording. If I do need to add a thought later, I will edit in a notification noise, like that, to let viewers know that there is something on screen that they can read. Now, with that out of the way, let's continue on with the rest of the video. The Owl House community seems to have this obsession with making sure that the only ships that are acceptable are ships that are canon or ones that fit perfectly in line with their own personal headcanons. If they don't, they get labeled as pro ships and are shunned. Some ships I've seen that have received this treatment are as follows: Camilla x Philip, Belos x the Titan, Amity x Willow, Luce x Willow, Hunter x either of the Blight Twin, Hunter and Luce, and before it was made canon, Hunter and Willow. Did you notice how every single one of those ships consisted of two perfectly fine, normal pairings? What I mean by normal is that all of these ships consist of two people who are either both adults or at the very least both age appropriate for each other, and aren't related to one another at all. Now, I'm not saying you have to like these ships. It's fine if you don't like these ships. I personally feel either indifferent to or genuinely do not care for at least half of the ships I listed just now. But while not liking a certain ship is okay, treating these ships and their shippers like the damn plague, as shown in these screenshots, is completely ridiculous. Most of these ships are fairly straightforward. Two adults being shipped together is perfectly fine and normal. Two age-appropriate teenagers being shipped together is also totally innocent and normal. So, what's the problem? Well, the problem seems to be that people want to label these ships as problematic despite there being nothing wrong with them. Don't believe me? Skim through the Lunter tag on any platform, whether it be Tumblr, Twitter, or TikTok, and see just how much vitriol is directed towards that ship alone. I'm going to mainly be focusing on that ship because I've encountered so much turmoil surrounding it. Before I do, I am going to have a special mention for a few other ships I've seen that also get hatred, and show the dumbass reasons people have shared for why they receive dislike for their choice of ship. In the case of Camilla, the reasons are utterly idiotic. Just listen to some of these. Isn't Belos 400 years old? Never mind the fact that Camilla is a middle-aged mom who has life experience and not some freshly turned 18-year-old who can be more easily manipulated or groomed. Belos is an abuser. Obviously, in this ship, people don't write their relationship as abusive, so this is a moot point. Why would you put Luce through that? Oh no, how dare you give a fictional villain development with their narrative foil in the room? Don't you care for a fictional character's feelings? Is this ship or AU canon compliant? Again, the whole point of an AU or fanon ship is that it exists outside of canon and falls into whatever parameters the AU or ship wants them to, so this is a really dumbass point. In the case of Bel Papa, here's another set of dumbass reasons. It's not canon, and again, it doesn't have to be canon, it's a fanon ship. It's disgusting because Belos is evil. So does that mean people are not allowed to have any ships that include any villain from any media? If your answer is a genuine yes, then I'm not sure what to do for you other than to have your parent take your phone away because you're obviously too young to be online. Belos is Aero Ace, so it's wrong to ship him with anyone. This is bullshit for some obvious reasons, the most evident being that this is a headcanon and not actual canon. The second is that Aero Ace people can still date each other. It's perfectly fine to ship characters together, even if one of them is Aero Ace. This is coming from an Aero Ace person. Do you guys see what shippers in the Owl House fandom have to deal with? And those were lesser known ships that don't have as much attention drawn to them. And I didn't even mention how people react to OC ship with canon characters, or god forbid, self-shipping. Now I'm going to take a deep dive into something more well known, like Lunter, and show off all the dumbass hate associated with that. There are a lot of reasons that people hate Lunter. A couple understandable to some degree, others showing off how stupid the Owl House fandom can be. I'm going to list all of the points I've seen Lunter antis use, and I'm also going to be refuting them at the same time. The first point that I see used a lot is that Hunter and Luce have a sibling dynamic, therefore Lunter is incest. Now, this is by far the most compelling reason to dislike Lunter, but unfortunately for those who do dislike Lunter, it's also very easily refuted. Hunter and Luce are never said to see each other as siblings. They act very immaturely and annoy each other at times, but for the type of dynamic they have, aka an antagonistic one at the start that slowly bleeds into friendship, that's very normal. It's actually very much like how Luce and Amity were constantly annoyed or angered by each other until they became friends. I mention this and someone will reply, but in Season 3, Episode 1 of the Owl House, thanks to them, Luce says to Hunter, "You're family now," which means she obviously sees him as some kind of sibling. To which I say, in the exact same episode, Camilla says, "Oh, I never expected to be a mother of 6, while very obviously referring to the entire Hex Squad. Using this exact same logic, does that mean that Camilla adopted Amity, Willow, and Gus as well? Does that mean that, at least for the time that they were in Camilla's care, Lumity and Huntlow are now also incest ships because they are technically adopted siblings? The answer to that, of course, is no, and I would never make the point that any of those ships, Lumity, Huntlow, Willow, or Lunter, would ever be incest because it's laughable. Not to mention, Luce saying that Hunter is family now, and I'm putting family in quotes here, could very well mean that he is now a fully integrated member of their found family, aka the Hex Squad, their friend group consisting of those they love and cherish. I've mentioned this before in other posts online, and I will repeat it here. It is perfectly fine if you headcanon Luce and Hunter as siblings, because it is fun to read them that way, but you also must acknowledge that in the canon of the show, it is just as possible that they see each other as siblings as it is that they see each other as best friends. It's fine to headcanon, but don't pretend that your headcanon is somehow more correct than anyone else and use it as an excuse to bully and harass others. Now, again, I say all of this, and a Lunter anti will say, but what about the narrative parallel between Luce, Hunter, and the Widowbros? And to that, I will say that a narrative correlation does not mean that Hunter and Luce actually see each other as siblings, but even then, media is subjective and can be interpreted in many ways. As much as Luce is a parallel to Philip, she can also be seen as a parallel to Evelyn because of how she convinces Hunter to leave his old life behind and join her side. Both are equally valid comparisons to make because both are equally true narratively. Another point people like to make when trying to shun Lunter is the fact that it somehow erases LGBT rep when that is in no way the case. Not even the fact that Hunter and Luce are both confirmed bisexuals, but just the fact that Lumity will forever be the canon ship is enough to refute the entire erasing sapphic representation point. Fans are allowed to ship pairs they like without it affecting canon. People do understand this, right? Someone drawing fan art of two characters kissing doesn't change the fact that Lumity is always going to be the canon ship, and that representation cannot be taken away. So just to be clear, Lumity is canon and cannot be affected by fanon, Lunter is fanon and cannot affect canon. Another point that my friend just shared with me, so I felt the need to add it in. Apparently, people think that Lunter is a pro ship because Hunter is a clone of a dead person, so therefore any ships that include Hunter promote necrophilia. Which, please tell me I don't have to explain why that argument is brain dead. I mean, you'd have to pull a muscle to reach that hard. Please tell me y'all are not that stupid. But anyway, despite the fact that most of this should be pretty basic common sense, there are still a lot of people who are quick to label Lunter as a pro ship. For those of you who aren't chronically online like I am and might not know what a pro ship is, a pro ship is a ship that is deemed problematic. Usually this is reserved for ships that promote incest, bestiality, or pedophilic relationships. But the Owl House fandom seems obsessed with labeling any ship that they personally don't like as a pro ship, and then bending backward to try to justify labeling it that. Sort of like how there was a wave of people that claimed Huntlow was a pro ship before it became canon because Hunter was 16 and Willow was supposedly 14, so that age gap was enough to warrant labeling it a pro ship. So to summarize, people are taking a ship between two teenagers that are unrelated and of appropriate ages to one another, and putting it in the same category as something like imp gold or Falloose, or something equally as despicable. So why are people doing this? I believe the reason there is so much discourse around ships in the Owl House community is the fact that there are a lot of Owl House fans who don't like it when people have headcanons that don't line up with their own. Now, I don't think it's the majority of Owl House fans that are like this. I genuinely do think that the broader Owl House fandom is capable of seeing a ship they don't like and not throwing a hissy fit about it. But I do think that the ones that are behaving in this ridiculous way are the loudest part of the fan base. And I'm not just talking about people who dislike the ships I mentioned earlier. I've also seen some Lunter and Walloose shippers being some real pieces of shit to Lumity and Huntlow shippers for no other reason than because their headcanons conflict with each other. It's completely stupid because there are so many actual pro shippers in the Owl House community who ship genuinely heinous things, and people are sitting here complaining that people ship the wrong Hex Squad couple together, or that people simp for Bellas or Adalia, or that people make OCs and self-inserts and ship them with characters. It's ridiculous, it's dumb, and it makes the Owl House fandom look toxic as fuck and hellish to be in, and it needs to stop. Well, that's all for today. If you have a non-pro ship that you like in the Owl House and feel like it deserves more attention, drop it in the comments down below. Or if you'd like to share your story of being on the receiving end of harassment because of a ship you enjoy, don't be afraid to comment. The whole point of this video is to bring awareness to the broader Owl House fandom about the toxicity stewing inside of it, and a small part of me hopes to see some improvement in the fandom afterward. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.